Hey, what's up? It's Ivan. This is the Cycleshack. Welcome back to the podcast. This is show number 70, and we're back live on YouTube. Finally, we found something that works. We're trying it out for the first time, so thanks for tuning in. For those that are tuning in for the first time, man, this is the Cycleshack, the show that talks about anything and everything motorcycles and anything I pretty much want to talk about. The Cycleshack Podcast at gmail.com. Send your questions, comments. I want pictures of your motorcycles, man. It's that time of year that everybody's going to get ready soon. You're probably starting to get the oil changes done on the bikes and getting everything going. So send over the photos, the Cycleshack Podcast at gmail.com. Let me see what you ride. Let me see what you got. Check out the show on Facebook at the Cycleshack Podcast. And on Facebook, you can actually check out the link to my website on Wix. Excuse me. It's too long to list, but it's on the Facebook page. Click the link. It'll take you right to there. And please feel free to sign up for my blog as I write some stories about a bunch of different things, motorcycle related and more. So what's up, people? It is Saturday night, February 27th. We got 21 days till spring, legitimately. 21 days till spring. I can't wait, man. I cannot wait. My wife just picked up a new Sport Glide. For those of you tuning in on the YouTube page, and I think I announced it last show, this bike is so sweet. I mean, she loved this bike. She saw it back in 2017 at the Javits Convention Center in the motorcycle show, and she said, "Man, that one's it. I got to get that one." So, 3 years later, 4 years later, 17, 4 years later, 2018, something like that. The bottom line is she wanted it. She eventually got it, and it came home last weekend. And it's an awesome little bike, man. I never realized until really seeing it up close how awesome the bike is and how beautiful she looks on it. She's going to love it. She's going to have fun. It's got a Milwaukee-Eight V-twin 107. Can't wait for her to check it out and ride it, man. I can't wait to see her riding it. So I also spoke about Harley-Davidson in 2021, and I thought that I still think the deal of the year with Harley is their Street Bob 114. I can't believe that bike. I'm going to say it again. The deal that they're giving on that bike, it's like almost $14,000, and it's got a 114 engine. Man, that's such a beautiful beginner's platform to do whatever you want. I mean, if you're going to bring in new riders, that would be the ticket. That would be the way to do it, man. That is an awesome bike. The Softail Standard, I believe, is coming in just at 13. So another bike, another entry-level bike, man, that if you want something with a little more pep, it's got a 107 than your average sporty. It's still a good-looking bike. And, yeah, man, you can't go wrong with the Softail Standard and the new the Street Bob 114. Awesome bike. But I got to say that the Sport Glide is, I mean, you go all over YouTube and you type this thing up and the following that it has. I mean, it's been out since 2018, and man, I mean, there's so many mods that guys did to it. It was amazing to see. So again, we put some modifications on it. We didn't do anything to the intake or exhaust. That's stock, but she put on she put floorboards instead of pegs, and we just picked up the small, like 2-inch windshield. We got a 5-inch windshield just to give her a little bit. If you see the Sport Glide, it's got the small fairing that's detachable, but not enough of a windshield. So we just bought a 5-inch windshield, and little bit of trouble there. Also, the LED inserts, we got them for her. and they look awesome, man. Well, they're gonna look awesome because I took them out the box and they're like completely sealed, waterproof, and it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool to see. So, yeah, I can't wait, man. 21 days, snow starting to melt. So kind of moving it along on the show. I was looking at exhausts and just started reading some articles about some exhausts and checking things out, and ran into something. What are the best exhausts? By Twin Zona. The name of this article was posted on June 4th, 2020. I don't know this guy's name. Federico. Basically tells you the difference between the slip-on exhausts and the full exhaust systems. You got two types of full exhaust systems. You have the 2-into-1 exhaust systems or the 2-into-2. We're going to discuss here. Pros and cons. Slip-ons give you the best advantage. You don't actually have to change the whole exhaust system. Slip-ons are quick and easy option, right? When you buy a slip-on exhaust, you're essentially just replacing the muffler section of your exhaust system, and you'll gain a slight bit of, and it'll, most importantly, change the sound of your bike. Coming safety. That's why I do it more. I'm having a little bit of malfunctions, but it's all right. We'll work through it. So, again, the final thing with the slip-on is on the pros. Aside from it changing the sound of your bike, it's fast, it's simple, and in a lot of cases, it's cheaper than a full exhaust system. Now, the cons of this is it won't really provide too much change as far as power to the bike. Again, very small increase in horsepower, and compared to a full exhaust system. And you gotta make sure you pick a quality exhaust, and depending on the exhaust, there'll be a slight noticeable difference in sound, of course, whether you like it or not. And that's the thing about getting a muffler. You don't know what it's going to sound like, so do your research. I know it's hard to go on YouTube and hear when you type in a good exhaust system like Vance and Hines. It sounds different behind a mic with a camera. You got to hear that rumble in person, but do the best you can with the videos. And now the full exhaust system, you got the 2-into-1. Some bikes are 2-into-1. Some bikes are 2-into-2. A lot of people look to, the advantage is you gain a significant amount of horsepower, right? Either way, 2-into-1, 1-into-2. They say the 2-into-1s are better because it gives the correct amount of what they call scavenging, back pressure built up for that bottom end torque. They say the 2-into-1 provides more, which is a little better for the bike. But again, it's different strokes for different folks. So obviously, of the two, what is the best exhaust for your V-twin? The answer to that is whatever your affordability can handle. If you want a full exhaust, just remember, a full exhaust you got to get an intake with that. And you're going to have to get the bike. If it's a carbureted bike, you're going to have to get it rejetted. And if it's fuel injected, well, then you're going to have to get it mapped or get alter the computer for the fuel ratio to be changed on it. You could have some popping, sputtering, popping on deceleration, etc. But once you work through that, man, you'll see a real significant increase in horsepower, definitely, especially when you put a good intake system. So do your research. Why did I bring that point up? I don't know. Some people were asking me about exhausts a while ago. I was looking at it. I base my shows on a lot of what I read on these forums. And, again, with these forums, you ask opinions and people have their own opinions. I tend to go with what works as far as for me. And motorcycle.com if you want to read on it. Discontinued motorcycles that won't be returning after 2021. Shock to read one. All right. Had a little difficulty, went off the air. All right, we're back on. So just straight up canceled. You can check out the link on the bottom and you'll see these articles yourself. One of the hardest things about growing old is seeing all your friends die off. Okay, acquaintances. Wow, this guy hit that article off like, wow. Also, some motorcycles we've grown up and loved. Unlike discontinued humans, this guy's a breath of fresh air. Also, some motorcycles we've grown up to love. Unlike discontinued humans, at least these motorcycles will still be around for years, and some won't. We'll see if we can work through that. That's the first time I'm using this software, powered by StreamYard. It's not StreamYard. It's actually not even my connection. It's just something with this port on my computer. But anyway, bikes that will not be making a return. The Harley-Davidson Sportster. Hate to say it, but after 2021, they're saying it's not coming back. Harley built the first one in 1957, so the Sportsters got to be one of the oldest bikes in continuous production. Harley's been upgrading the bike forever, and they must have produced around 5,000 versions in the past 64 years. Only a slight exaggeration. More Sportsters are probably still blatting around. These are probably have more aftermarket support. So the 2021 Iron 1200, pictured at $9,999, is amongst the last of the Mohegans. After that, the Iron 883 and the 48 are done as well. But Harley-Davidson's probably got something up their sleeve to fill that gap, but it would really be a shame to see the Sportster go. I got to say, my wife has an 883, an Iron 883. She loves it. The Sportster is one of the, they still have the Evolution engine in the Sportster. The Evolution engine's been around since, 80-something? And it was discontinued. The 1350 model that was in like the diners and stuff was discontinued, I think, in 93, 94, etc. When they came out with the twin cam, they stopped using the Evolution. But pretty much, man, the Evolution was a bomb-proof engine, at least from what I've read and what I've heard. I could tell you right now, man, I love the Evo that my wife's Sportster has, man. That thing puts out plenty power. I love it. And just see it go, man. That'll be crazy. That will be really crazy. But that's one of the bikes that they're claiming is going to be going. The Yamaha R6 and the Yamaha Vmax are two motorcycles that they're saying will go. The Vmax has been around since 1985. And what do we got here? FR. Been around since 1999, but it was redesigned in 2008. And apparently they're going bye-bye as well. I'm not a sport bike rider, but the Ducati Monster is making its way out with 2021. KTM Dukes 690 and 790 gone for 2021, after 2021. And I think that's all I got here. I mean, the most disappointing is the Sportster for me, because I don't know. I just think Harley, what they're going to do is probably throw another Sportster with another engine. And I'll get to that a little bit later. I want to talk about the Harley-Davidson Pan America, and also about the Harley-Davidson's new Revolution Max engine that's on the Pan America, Harley's liquid-cooled 1250 engine. But yeah, I think they're going to experiment with the Sportster. They're probably going to pull the air-cooled Evo out of it and put in something else in its place, and probably redesign the Sportster. I mean, it's going to be a shame. First off, I want to point out that Harley-Davidson eventually is going to move away from air-cooled bikes. They have no choice. They are not as efficient. They're trying to do what they can for emissions with these things, but you're going to get better emissions out of a liquid-cooled bike, and basically Harley's got to step it up into today's realm. And if they want to put more horsepower out, they can't just keep going in increments, right? And making the 114, the 117, then you got the 128, the 131. What next? You're going to come out with a 140, a 145, and it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger until you have a car engine. No. They're going to have to stray away from an air-cooled engine if they want to make big horsepower gains and keep the weight down on the bike. Eventually, Harley's going to have to go in that direction. I hate to say it. Now, that's going to piss off a lot of Harley people, but it is the truth. If the high output 103, which is the engine I have on my There we go. We're back on the air on YouTube. Anyway, bear with me, folks. In order to get those significant gains like we were talking about, Harley-Davidson's going to have to get into liquid cooling. That's just the bottom line. And to help the emissions. It's either that or they're going to have to do something. I know it's going to piss off a lot of Harley people because, a lot of Harley guys still love the V-twin, the air-cooled V-twin, and you'll still have the V-twin. It's just, again, to put out more horsepower and get better gains and more efficiency, better emissions, eventually they're going to have to go liquid cooling. So that was going to be my talk when I was talking about the Pan America and the Revolution Max 1250. I got still got oil changes to do on my bike, and I'm going to be using the synthetic. I'm going to be using I put Amsoil on the screen, but I'm not going to be using Amsoil. That's probably going to piss off some Harley people that listen to this, but I don't use Amsoil stuff, and the but I'm going to go synthetic for the engine. And with it, I've had good results with it, and yeah, it's just worked. All right, what are we doing with this connection here? So a big topic that I've been hearing on the forums is Amsoil and the Milwaukee-Eight engine. The Milwaukee-Eight engine was designed to be a more cooler running engine, which, again, the name of the game, if it runs cooler, puts out better emissions, you get more horsepower gains out of it. So, design of the Milwaukee-Eight engine. So, how does Amsoil perform in this engine now? Apparently, it performs very well. So, it's still an air-cooled engine, so it will suffer from heat. And Amsoil, regardless, still doesn't break down as quickly, according to these tests that I've read here, as a lot of other synthetic oils. Now, don't get me wrong. Synthetic oils are, designed and engineered to be way better than mineral oils. But in the realm of the synthetic oils, the ones that there are some that kind of break down before others. And Amsoil is supposedly the elite of the elite. I don't know that to be a fact because I've never used it. But I haven't had a problem with any of the other oils I've used. I've used Lucas Synthetic on my 2008 Harley. And I used to use also Mobile One. And I got great results with the Mobile One in the engine. I will say that I used synthetic on the primary and the tranny. Got a lot of clunking and clanging. I don't like that. It just the sound was, and I went back to using the mineral oil because it was just the clunking and clanking went away. Somebody told me that that's just a sound. You don't have to worry about it. The lubrication is still getting there. It's still doing its thing. It's just circulating a little bit better and faster, but it was just me. I heard the clunking and clanging, especially when Harleys are notorious for clunking when you come into first gear. When you come off of neutral, you hit the first, you hear that clunk. Man, that scares the hell out of you. And you always wonder, what the heck is that? Because sometimes you hear a pow. Like you go into first, you hear a clock. You're like, what the hell? But I'm told that's the compensator. The compensator gear banging into. I was told that you can buy an upgrade for that, for the compensator, and that clunking will go away completely. And that compensator sometimes, depending on how you ride your bike, will come apart. Will just shatter into like 4 or 5 pieces. So yeah, that's crazy. The compensator is what connects the I guess the motion of the tranny to the engine, so to speak. So yeah. But anyway, getting back to the oils. It says here, heat also causes some oils to thin, lose viscosity. The oil can become so thin the engine loses oil pressure, and it causes the oil pressure gauge to bottom out. At that point, the rider may notice increased valve train and gear noise and clatter. Like, hey, see what I was just talking about? But you hear that normally when using, not all the time, not with every oil. But I noticed that, and then the engine's a little bit noisier. Or at least the primary and the tranny were a little bit noisier when I went synthetic. As far as the engine, it was fine. And I actually noticed that with the Mobile One, the engine ran a lot cooler because that 2008, I had a 2008 Ultra Classic, the anniversary edition. The, what was it, gold and black, vivid black and gold. Oh, that boy used to heat up really bad. And when I switched from the mineral oil to the Mobile One, that it helped it significantly, big time. So according to this study, Mobile One pretty much, Amsoil, the average rear cylinder temperature surpasses 420 degrees in like 90 to 95 degree high humidity heat. Normally slow stop and go traffic is what causes this. With the change, according to Amsoil, on the Milwaukee-Eight to Amsoil oil, that went to a steady 300 degrees Fahrenheit as opposed to the 420 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a big difference. Especially in that rear cylinder, which gets warmer. That's a big deal. So check this article out yourself. I won't get too into it. Just something I figured I'd mention because a lot of people, with the Milwaukee-Eight, a lot of people are just going with the Harley Syn 3, which I'm told the Syn 3 is not a full synthetic oil. It's a part synthetic. So we're talking about Amsoil and the Milwaukee-Eight and what does it really do. So I found an article on it, so I figured I'd just share. The Harley-Davidson Pan America. Harley-Davidson came out with their video this past week, earlier in the week. And it was like what they did with their dealer show, right? They made a well-edited 40-minute movie, pretty much, with the dealer show. I guess because of the COVID, they didn't do the flying in all the dealers from around the country or the world to their dealer show. And they made it open to the public. They had you sign up for it. Now they got your information because you signed up for it. But it's kind of where I thought it was going to be as far as price. I thought the high end of it was going to be where it was at, and they were going to bring it down a little lower because they got to compete with KTM, BMW, and a lot of other adventure bikes. So the Pan America, when they released it, they came out with another little video documentary, another 40-minute documentary with Jason Momoa and a couple of other people. I can't pronounce his name, but the new CEO of Harley, Jochen Zykes, I think his name is. I don't know. Maybe I pronounced his name wrong, but I butchered it. My thoughts on the Pan America, I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be pretty good because it's what Harley needed to step into that realm. And it's the introduction of their Revolution Max 1250 engine, which when last year in the motorcycle show, when they announced the Pan America and the Bronx sport bike, the Street Fighter sport bike that was coming out, they both were going to have what they called the Revolution X engine. Now, all of a sudden, they're calling it the Revolution Max. I could be wrong. But anyway, coming out next month, and it's going to be costing somewhere around $17,300. For the Pan America Special, about 20 grand, $19,999. 17,000, $17,999. Excuse me, I didn't have my coffee. That sucks. I don't want to have my cup of coffee here in the studio with me. Anyway, $17,999 was what I thought it was going to come out to on the high end, and they were going to start it at like 15. But I was wrong. It's a cool bike. I'm not an adventure bike rider, but when I saw that one, I was like, hey, cool. Liquid cooled, which again, getting back to my discussion on the Revolution Max 1250, that's only a 1250. And I say only, even though it's a big engine, but compared to what's out there now, it's putting out some big numbers. And it's because the introduction of the air cooling. The introduction of the liquid cooling as opposed to the air cooling. Big numbers they're getting from this engine. Now imagine coming out with a Revolution Max 1700 and throwing it in a Street Glide touring bike where you can have a liquid cooled engine significantly bigger to put out even bigger numbers. awesome. And I think that's where Harley is probably going to be going. I think they're going to take engines like this Revolution Max that they started out in the Pan America, and they're going to pop it into a touring bike at a bigger scale. So they're going to give you a Revolution Max 1750 or a 1700 or an 1800. And the numbers are going to be ridiculous, producing a more enjoyable ride. I think that's the future that Harley-Davidson needs to step into, aside from creating bikes that will appeal to the masses of the younger generation. But those are my thoughts. The Revolution Max 1250. Now, got a Cat and a Moto Guide put out an article here. Zac Kurylyk was the one who wrote this. And basically discussing the engine and its breakdown. Not the best or the coolest looking engine, I gotta say. I think the casing of it, they could have made it look a little bit better. It could have maybe made it look like a V-twin, right? If you're going to probably introduce it in your touring lineup, you could have at least made it look more like it's a V-twin, excuse me. Make it look like an air-cooled Harley engine. Give it the look at least. But anyway. Earlier this week, Harley-Davidson finally released the full details on its new Pan America 1250 Adventure Series bike. As a whole, the bike is big news. It has a much lower price than many of Harley's more integration of electronics and suspension. And I got to say that one thing I thought that was cool to the pretty much the horsepower and torque gains that they were getting on it for it being liquid cooled, and 3, that the Pan America has dual mode or more than it has different mode settings, similar to what I was going to say Victory, similar to what Indian is putting out on their bikes, right? So instead of you having to go and getting it mapped out, the bike already comes for you with different modes. You have sport mode, street mode, and touring mode, something to that effect, where there's different maps on the bike, and at the push of the button, you change it on the computer and the bike performs differently, and you see the difference. Well, the Pan America had that. And I think that's another thing that Harley, should be introducing to their lineup of motorcycles. Multiple modes. Don't just take us and jerk us and tell us, okay, here's a screaming eagle or screaming chicken intake and exhaust. By the way, you got to come in. You have to buy the street tuner, and it's going to give you a program that's going to make all that work, so your bike won't run like shit. Come on, Harley. That's what we want to see. Put that multiple mode thing and put a decent intake and a decent exhaust from day one. Put the multiple modes and give the riders what they want. So this engine, liquid cooled, new Revolution almost bike. It's going to be very important, they say here, to Harley's upcoming years. And it's a big departure from the company's previous stereotypes, right? The Revolution Max is rated for 150 horsepower and 94 foot-pounds of torque. It's not the most powerful engine that Harley-Davidson has ever made. The Destroyer drag bike made more than 165 horsepower and was available over the counter. The VR1000 Superbike was in the ballpark as well. However, those engines were race only. The new 1250 is a street engine. In the past, Harley-Davidson's engines basically made their power through displacement. Every time the Big Twin series went to their next generation, they grew in size. Hence, the 88 became the 103, then became the 107, so on to Greenland Eagle. Great. If they want to get big gains, big numbers, big horsepower, it's time to go liquid cooling. So the 1250 uses several tricks to make more horsepower, but the biggest factor here is the variable valve timing system. Harley went with a variable valve timing system on both the exhaust and intake cams. This allowed Harley-Davidson to make an even higher difficulties here. The Vvt System intake camshaft, again, timing through range of aluminum valve. I'm not going to get into all the technical specs. Oiling system is designed to reduce inefficiency. Oil feeds into the crankshaft itself instead of the main bearings, which means the engine can run lower pressures and reduce drag. So it's got the technology. Got a nice picture of it here. Again, go to CanadaMotoGuide.com and you'll see what I'm talking about. Harley-Davidson Max 1250. And you'll get all the information. Here we go. They pulled this engine off. They pulled the Harley-Davidson Bronx Street Fighter sport bike that was coming out. It too had the Revolution Max 1250. They just announced here that the next generation of Harley-Davidsons, but the Revolution Max is heading for the next generation of Harley-Davidsons. And they show here a cruiser that looks sort of like the FXDR, similar to it in body. And it's got the Revolution Max with the radiator up front. Put out some sick numbers and give you some sick power. Especially if they start stepping the displacement 1300 net. It's not my internet too. It's my connection here. Anyway, from a 1250 go up to like a 1500. From a 1500 go up to like a 1700, and you'll see the crazy sick numbers. Again, we'll have to see what it does for the company. It's this engine. So I think this engine is going to have to do with a lot of their cruisers. Again, I just hope they change and play with the look on this. This looks similar to what the Victory had on their liquid-cooled engine. And I forgot. It's the one that's the equivalent to the Indian Scout. They basically took the badging off of that one and threw the Scout badging on it. I forgot what it was called. It was putting out some sick numbers, too, because it had a similar-looking engine. It was liquid-cooled V-twin that looked similar to this. I hope they change this design. Make it look more like an air-cooled V-twin. But I don't think they're going to be able to get the Harley-Davidson sound. The potato. I don't think you're going to get that with this engine, not with the liquid cooling. No clanking or clunking on this one. That's what's going to be hard. That's what's going to be hard for a lot of Harley-Davidson owners, including myself. So you're going to have to see, man, all these air-cooled V-twins, you're going to have to hold on to them because they're going to be a thing of the past. I say within the next, I want to say that Harley within the next 5 years is going to make a big push to the liquid-cooled engine to the point that they're going to start slimming down on manufacturing their air-cooled line because they're going to, again, reintroduce this Revolution Max 1250. This is the first start of it. I think this is the first look, and they're going to start getting everybody used to seeing it in the Pan America. Then they'll come out with another lineup of bikes, one or two that'll have this one, aside from the V-twins. And again, for emission. But that remains to be seen. Here we go. Technical difficulties again. The Cycleshack Podcast at gmail.com. Hey, send me what you think about the show. Show me what you got. Show me what you ride, man. Put it on there. The Cycleshack Podcast at gmail.com. Or if you want, you can check it out on the Cycleshack Podcast on Facebook. You can put your pictures of your bikes there. Pictures of anything motorcycle related. I don't care. Pop it up there. Yeah, definitely, man. And you could click on the blog page link on the website. Oh, actually on the Facebook page at the Cycleshack Podcast on Facebook. Click on the link for the webpage, follow my blog, sign up. And again, you'll get some stories and stuff there and get notifications every time I pop a new blog on. So that's it, folks. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining me on this podcast here. I've been trying to get it back on YouTube, and I see where my technical difficulty is. Before it was my computer that wasn't handling the setup. Now I got a different setup, and I see computer and this Ethernet port that's now we'll figure it out. But nevertheless, we got back on YouTube, folks. Thanks for joining me, man. Thanks for joining me. All right. Anchor.fm. We're listening on